That's one thing. It's like there's so many different ways that you can perceive something as being quality.
Hmm.
A lot of people will think like, oh, it's like really clean mix downs and stuff like that. Um, I think like quality is just something that's like unique and kind of sounds like them. Like, you can when you can hear a track or like a chord progression, anything, you'd be like, oh, that sounds like this person. I feel like that is like the best thing to kind of get into. It's like we're all like trying to learn how to make these sounds from people that we like look up to and stuff. But then when you learn that and then like how you can like do it your own way and stuff is where then you start to develop your own sound. And I feel like that's like the best thing you can kind of grow into as a growing artist, in my opinion. Um, for my sound, what I'm trying to like, I grew up doing all the sample based like stuff, especially like first moving in with Parker and stuff like that. Um, but then it's like the last couple years, I've really wanted to just like dial in and get better with sound design and stuff. So it's like I've just been working a lot more on that and trying to stay away from samples a little bit just so I can like progress in that. And then I want to end goal be able to tie both of them together where it's like this sample based stuff where it's like you can get this like groove or like vibe or anything from this old tune and then combine it with like all this new sound design stuff that I've actually learned and like putting it all together just to like make it kind of like my sound, hopefully. Yeah, that's basically what I'm going for.
Do you ever feel like you're in conflict with perfectionism when putting together like the finishing touches on something?
Sometimes, usually it's like I feel like I'll work on something, I'll get into a playable, like where I like it sounds good enough and there's enough there to like just play it out. And then I usually will just like be playing it out and testing it, seeing like how it goes with the crowd, like what if it makes them like really move or whatever, or if they just like start talking, then it's like okay, like then that's not working. And then go back into it and try and fix the things. And usually it's best when you take like some time off from that track, like you don't even open up that project and then just like open it up. It's like, wow, like what was I doing with all these drums that was like sound like shit, and like just replace all that, fixing things up like that, and then you get like this really like more polished product that sounds more like what you're trying to do currently.
Mm. So talking about just like what it's like being an artist, there's so much like, especially starting out, you don't get much validation, really. Definitely not like financially, and it's a lot of also like self-doubt. Like, can you really make a career out of this, or is it more like a hobby? And all those types of questions, like artists of all types can relate to. I'd love to hear you talk about how you stay stoked about making music and like, what those ups and downs are like for you, where you're not necessarily on this mountaintop yet, but how you keep yourself, just staying true to the process basically.
Mhm. Well, basically where I'm at right now, like it's a lot of ups and downs because there'll be like this thing where it's like you get all these offers in like a week, 2 weeks, and then it's like going good, and then like you're working on music and like it's coming out how you want it to and everything, and then it's like you feel like you're on top of the world, and then you just lose that inspiration, maybe pizzazz, maybe some word like that,
I
but
call it
then
stoked.
yeah, you lose the stoke a little bit, I guess, and then you're still trying to like work on music and like you're just sitting there for hours just like working, trying, pushing, and trying to have something happen, and then nothing's just happening pretty much. And that's when it usually starts on the downhill part. And it's like, depending on what you do with that time when you're in the downhill, is depending on how long you're going to stay down there. And it all varies. Like, it could be a 1 day thing, it could be a 2 week thing, or it could be like a 3 month thing. And like, it's all this back and forth thing. And it's like, the things that I feel like I've been learning a lot, and I'm still like just like learning how to deal with that and stuff is like been going to the gym a lot more, like try to go outside and get like a hike in, anything like do something like physical, get your body moving and your body feeling good, eating good, makes you feel a lot better. So then when you go to work on stuff, you're feeling better. That's like always really big key steps. And then when it's just still like you're just like can't find it, is like listening to new music. I feel like it's always a really good thing that I always end up looking past because I'm like, oh, I have this amount of time I need to work. Like, but it's like if you just take like an hour and just like listen to some new stuff you haven't heard or some old stuff that you haven't listened to in a while and just like sit there for like an hour and just like take in music and then that could really just like open some things up for you. Like you could hear something in there like, oh, the pattern of those hi-hats are really sick, or like that rhythm of like that bass line is really cool. Like, and then you just take that inspiration and then that could spark like a whole new thing for you. The never-ending battle that I don't know if anybody's really fully figured out how to completely deal with it, but there's some little things that can definitely make it a little bit easier on you.
Mm. And beyond those different things you can do, like, you know, listening to music, wellness, what kind of attitude do you feel like is most helpful when you're definitely, you know, you feel yourself in the midst of that downward kind of thing, and maybe even like confidence and self-assurance might be waning at times. Like, what kind of mental game are you playing there?
No, it's a nonstop mental game. Yeah, you just can get so down on yourself, but like really when it gets to that point and you're just like that down on yourself, nothing's working. Like that's just like a sign where you should just take a break. Like give yourself like 2, 3 days off from working on music, studio, anything. Like go hang out with your friends, like go to a show, like go do something like that's outside of it. And just like, yeah, 'cause I feel like basically it's just like the point where it's just like your body's like, you need a break from this in some type of
Mhm.
way. It's like your mental is telling you take a break. So that's one thing is like nobody works 24/7. Like, you know, you really just kind of can't. Like whether it be your ears letting you down first, like that's one thing I've been dealing with a little bit now is like running sound the black box and like doing this. I got to this one point before Sonic Bloom where my ears were like killing me. Like they just hurt so bad, and I really wanted to work on stuff to get ready for Sonic Bloom, but it got to the point where it's like I can't listen to anything. Like I need to give myself a break, like just for my ears alone. So that was the first time I ever dealt with that, and I've been working with music like 10 years.
Dang.
So that was the first one. So that one was kind of scary because it was also like, am I going deaf? Like probably a little bit, yes, but like also like I wear earplugs all the time and everything. Not when I'm making music, but just another part of the thing that something gets thrown at you, you know?
I'd love to hear you talk about like why this path, and you know, whenever you're feeling like on that downhill, maybe you're questioning if this is what you want to do with your life, like what you come back to that like ultimately is like, no, this is it, I'm all in.
Yeah, eventually it's probably just like that one breakthrough because it's just like you could be in this like terrible downward thing where you do start self-doubting. It's like, man, maybe I'm not like cut out to like do this or whatever. Like, but then it's like, then you have that one breakthrough, like making a track, and then it's just like all right back. You're like, oh, there it is. Like, I can still do this. Like, sometimes it gets to a point where you feel like you forget how to make music, and then it's just like you write that one track that just comes together quickly. And it's really good and becomes one of your favorite ones to play out and everything like that. And that's what literally just brings me back every time.
Mhm. Can you talk to me about something with your creative process that you stay away from doing that, you know, you think is super useful that you in that you're avoiding it?
Hmm. Um, I think to an extent, big thing is not doing sound design while writing.
Hmm.
Like, you know, do to an extent, because really the best thing, like you want to be able to sit down if you want to write a track, you want to like have all your tools there for you ready, and then just get your idea out as quick as possible, because that's how you're gonna get like the most stuff done. Whereas like, you know, if you're starting a track and then you're like, oh cool, like let me like make this crazy distorted bass sound and everything, and then you're spending 25 minutes just like making that sound, and then like that is slowly like counting your like peak creativity timer down a little bit. So it's like in the times when you're not like feeling good writing tracks, that's when you should be doing like sound design, like drum loops, making all this stuff so that when you go into writing, like boom, it's like, oh, there's the kick drum I really want to use. Like, oh, there's like this break that sounds really good. And like, oh, I made like these little sound design things. I could chop those up. Oh, there's some samples I got. And then it's just like putting it all together and not trying to do that while actually writing the track, like doing all that stuff ahead of time. So you have like a whole toolbox ready for you that you could just
Mm.
pick out and just throw shit together and then kind of comes. So that's a big thing because sometimes it's just like, yeah, you'll be working on something, it's going great and everything, and then you try to like really focus and dial in this one sound, and then you're just like slowly taking away that timer of like the peak creativity time. And yeah, then you end up just like, all right, cool, you got that sound dialed in. Now what do I do? You don't even know what to do after that because you kind of just like wasted all that mental energy on just perfecting that sound. Where it's like better, where it's like, yeah, just keep throwing stuff on it. It might not sound perfect, but like when I get into a mode where I'm like, all right, cool, I'm like finished writing this, then you can go like perfect all that stuff and make it like the final mix or tightening up, I guess would be the word. But that's always a really crucial one for me that took a while to learn.
Yeah, it's like almost like a form of procrastination, like when an idea comes, but then you let yourself get lost in the weeds instead of like giving the idea the full like presence it deserves.
Hmm. Yeah, but it's still a thing that I still battle, and I'll be like doing that, and then I notice myself, I'm like, no, I'm like, I don't need to be doing this. I don't need to be EQing this snare drum right now. Like, like I can literally take care of that. It's not gonna destroy this track right now. So it's just like that, and you kind of have to remind yourself a little bit, so you just don't go down a path where you're gonna lose that spark.
This is Flowers on the Stage, a podcast about being creative and finding success. To support it, please check out our sponsors, New Belgium Brewing, Thrax CBD, and Ticket Relief, the ticketing company that plants trees with a portion of each ticket sold. And now, back to the episode.
Do you feel like that hyper focus part of your personality is also like a feature of what makes you successful with making good music?
This is the one thing where it's just like, I don't know, I forgot where I heard this, where it was like somebody saying like, um, if you don't focus on the stuff that didn't go planned, um, then you don't improve. If you're just like, oh, like it
Hmm.
didn't happen, whatever, and just be like, there's nothing wrong with that. But like also kind of sometimes being a little harder on yourself will like make you want to work on that thing to improve it. So like that's not a thing that you ever run into. I mean, you're always gonna run into it, but like if you could figure out a way to be better with fixing that problem quicker or whatever, like that is I think is really crucial. But sometimes you just gotta not be too hard on yourself.
Right.
It's a whole balancing act.
Yeah. It's like a balance. Like the devil's in the details. And obviously like the best shit is so has the details so dialed in, but also like there's this mental coaching aspect of like the idea of a high five, but like actually being able to feel that after a good set is interesting, like I'll be like you mentioned, the 75% of people in the crowd have an amazing time. And then for some reason, the artist is like mad at themselves after the show or something like that. And it's like, what?
Yep. Yeah, it's just like something, yeah, where it's just like just you really noticed that one thing. It was just like, yeah, so it's a never ending battle though. Like, everybody in any form of artistry is gonna kind of deal with that. Um, but it makes you want to improve. So it's kind of a good thing. Kind of puts you in a bad mental state. Maybe you're gonna be a little grumpy Gus after you play for a little bit, but hopefully it'll be better next time.
It's like a blessing and a curse. Like it's like I love to see that they care, about being great, but then it's also like obviously there's a time and a place and an amount for that.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
What like qualities about a person do you most appreciate when you're collaborating with them?
I would say quickness, like, just being able to work on get stuff like bouncing around real quick. Getting ideas out really quick is super crucial to actually like finishing it. Um, and then I would say honesty. Like, when something like you feel like, you'd be working on something and like you might think it's like really cool, but the other person might not. So just being like, hey, like, I don't know if I'm feeling that. And then it's just like you can kind of just stop it before it ends up just being like this thing of wasting like 45 minutes or whatever.
let's say, there's a new producer that gets wind of you, and they kind of want to collaborate with you. How do you kind of evaluate if it's going to be a good fit?
Basically just listen to their music. It's like if their music I feel like is something that like I think would line up with my style or anything like that. That's basically what I look for mostly.
Hmm.
Not the most needed, but it's always beneficial when you're on the same DAW. So you can just like send the project to each other instead of like having to just bounce stems every time you go back and forth. That's one thing. It's like not like a make or break, but does make it a lot easier in a way.
Hmm. And I'm also curious about like visual artists. Like, so what's that like for you? Not only like the idea of selecting or finding a visual artist, a VJ, but then what it's like collaborating with them. Let's say do a big production festival headlining. Like, what's the process like working with that VJ up until the set to make sure it's just like dialed in?
So usually most of the time that I've been lined up with a VJ that like, I haven't picked because sometimes like a festival or whatever, they'll just line you up with somebody. Or I guess like they usually put out like a sheet where it's like the VJs get to like pick who they want to like perform with or whatever. I like that. It's like that with flow artists too. Like they'll like put their name in on like this whole Google Doc sheet or whatever, like, oh, that's who I want to work with or whatever. When you get bigger, I'm not sure like, you're getting a pick, but like I'm not at that point usually for festivals yet. But most of the VJ work that I do is with my homie Griff. He goes by Spectrum One. He like started VJing when he was like bouncing around houses and he was like living with us for a little bit. And we were all like making music. It was during COVID too, so we had like just made music pretty much the whole time. And he got he was like, I want to like contribute something, but like not music. And then he was like got really into video stuff, and then he's doing like got like a modular rack built and he does like all modular visuals and stuff like that. Like he doesn't even need a computer to like do visuals for stuff now. So that's where I just like it a lot because it's unique and different and it's not just like melting faces or anything like that. It's just like weird lines and stuff that are all coming together and making like it's just never going to be the same thing over and over because it literally kind of can't be modular, like just the way everything's routed and everything. It's always gonna be a little bit different. So that's why I really like that. Also, it's like he just keeps like really growing and expanding on this. And every time he does show me new stuff, he's just like getting better at it. So that's who I like to do visuals with personally.
So you're like more so just trusting and like you've got to be hands off pretty much.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I just literally trust whatever he's gonna put up there. It's your art. I want you to represent it your way. So it's never like, oh, it needs to be this or that. I don't have VJ clips or anything like that because there's a lot of sick VJs out there. So I kind of just let them do their thing.
Next, I'd love to hear you talk about how your relationship with music, both as a fan and as an artist, like how it's evolved over the years, and like if there's certain aspects as a listener of music that you appreciate now, maybe more than you did like a decade ago.
Yeah. I feel like growing up like a decade ago, I was probably just starting to get into electronic music. And that's when it was like upstate New York and it was like a lot of like big room house type stuff. It's like that and trap were the big thing, like Moopaton and stuff. It's like I remember like loving all that stuff and more like heavier dubstep. It's like weird, like yeah, just like your taste change, I feel like is the main thing. But I've always had like a sweet spot for like the East Coast boom bappy hip hop stuff, and that's still
Mhm.
like where I really try to like have my style kind of sound like that, but with incorporating different other things that's just not like a sampled record and some just boom bap drums and stuff like that, and that's it, call it a day. But like trying to like have it more where it's like it's got a big ass bass line that can like shake a big system. Because like a lot of like those old hip hop tunes that I grew up listening to that I love sound like shit on a fucking big system. Like, it's just like some sampled 808 that's just like or whatever, like kicks
Downloaded off
in.
Dat Piff.
Yeah, exactly. And it just sounds so bad. But yeah, I'm just like trying to do that, but cleaner so it sounds good out of like a nice rig, I guess.
I'd love to hear you take me back to, that time where you are just starting out. like barely even started out, and what your thought process is like when you're deciding, okay, I'm gonna go all in on this.
Oh, it was probably because I was working with this tent company and we did tents for a bunch of like music festivals and stuff. And we did one for a couple years for Camp Bisco, like when it was in Mariahville, like the old spot. And then it's like we set those all up. I had to be like 19 at the time or 20. It's probably 19. After we set it up, the guy that was running it was like, so do any of you guys want to come? Like put you on the guest list if you want to come. And it was like, I don't have to work this weekend. So like a couple of my friends like went up and just like seeing like kind of like I guess DJing really for the first time. Like not just like a band or whatever like that. It was like just DJs playing music they made. And that was like just got me like really intrigued on it. And then I started like just messing around DJing in my room. And then one of our friends worked at this bar in Albany and they just needed a DJ for like Friday nights to just like play for like 6 hours. And they were like, yeah, you want to do it? It's like $150 a night, but like, and just bring the speakers and all that and just play for 5, 6 hours. And I was like, shit, all right. And I was like 19 or 21 at the time. So it was like, I couldn't even get into the bar. So like when I would just like bring all my gear in through the back and like set it all up, and then they were just like never ID'd me, so they were just like, "What do you want to drink? Oh, you get unlimited drinks. All night?" So there was just like an excuse for me to just get into a bar and drink for free and make 150
What
bucks.
a time.
Yeah, exactly. It was way different. Like, I was doing that for like 2 years. And then eventually I just got to the point where it's like, I do not want to just be a bar DJ at all. Like, I want to learn how to make my own music. But like where I was living, like there was not many people like making music around me. So it was like kind of hard to like learn from somebody. So that's when I had all this money saved up for college and didn't know what I wanted to do. And I found the school called Dubspot in New York City. So I was like trying to convince my parents so bad, like this is what I want to do with the college money. I want to go to the school, learn how to make music and all that. And then like they're like, I don't know, like it's like you're not gonna make any money. Like you're just gonna waste all this college money. And I'm like, I don't know. We're never gonna know unless I try it, you know. And then it's like, and then like my grandparents too, because they also like helped with this fund, and they're like, "You're not gonna make any money. Look at your cousins. Like, he wants to like be a hotel manager, and he wants to be a doctor, and like you want to like make music. Like, you're not gonna make money. Like, how are you gonna support your family? Blah blah blah." And I was like, I get it, but like also like it could open my foot into other doors. Like I could do audio work and stuff like that. It's not just that. Like and then they were like, it took so long. Eventually, like, all right, we'll let you try it out. So I did it for like the 3 months. I took 3 months of class, like three classes, did that, went back home, was just like trying to work on stuff, save up money and everything. And then went back down the next year. Took like 6 months worth of classes. And then I just like finished all that. And then I got this job doing audio production. Um, and I was like, they kind of looked at me more as a box truck driver because I knew how to drive them from the tent job, but I was making such good money. It was like $50 an hour to drive box trucks across the country and stuff like that. So then like as soon as that was like before like even like getting any breaks, like making music, it was just like, oh, like that got me this job technically in a way because I knew about like audio and all that type of stuff. And then it was like at this point where I was making more money than my parents, like just doing this job. And then I ended up quitting it to move to Denver. And they were just like, what? Like, you just had such a good job. Like, you're making more than us. And like, are you just going to leave it to like go do this? And then it was like, for a while, it's like, it's just like the grind and trying to come up and then like meeting Parker, Marley, and Joe and like all of our crew. And like, then it just like all this stuff started rolling and like moving. And then it was like, I felt like all my family was like kind of understood, like, all right, like you're doing stuff and everything. Like, it's cool to see. Like, are you making money? And it's like starting to make a little bit of money. Like, and they're just like, okay. And then when we got like the Grew Sauce offer for Red Rocks, I think that was like the point where it finally clicked for my family, where they're like, oh, like, okay, you actually like can do something with this, like wow, like because they were just like kind of like super skeptical about it first, and then just like that, and then them coming out to Red Rocks and everything, and like seeing it, it was just kind of this thing where they all just like clicked and like, okay, like, you had something you really wanted to do and like you stuck with it and you've done it and like we're proud of you for that.
Wow. What was that like for you? Like processing that, wow, I stuck with it and now they're here watching me at Red Rock. Like I won the argument.
Yeah, it was kind of yeah, it did feel like the told you, just let me try it. You see what
That's
happens.
amazing though. That is fucking amazing.
Yeah, because there's a lot of people like, you have a passion for, and then it's just like life comes at you and like, you get
Hmm.
in a different direction or like, especially like end up having a kid, like that can really like slow things down a lot if you're like really on the come up in a way. Um, anything like that. So just feels great to actually have been able to stick with it and keep going.
So other than like, your family doubting you and maybe that wasn't a challenge. Maybe that was like something that fueled you. But like what was actually some of the biggest challenges for you like during this starting out process?
Yeah, I definitely felt like I was fuel. I mean, I feel like a lot of the things that you feel like that might push you back is kind of more like fuel a little bit. Like especially like growing like in back in Albany, like playing some shows there, and it's like there was like the local kids there that kind of just like hated us because like one, we were playing pretty shitty big room house music, and it's like I would have hated on me too if I was them. But it was just like learning, and that's like all I knew then type of stuff. They were all hating on us so hard. I remember like playing this show, and this one kid came up. He was like standing behind us on stage, just like standing there, like looking, and then like turn around. I was like, wait, what is this guy doing? And then he was like, so I'm like a local DJ here and everything. I've been doing this for years, and I've been watching you guys, and you guys suck. Like you have like 5 minutes left. Like do something cool to like impress me. And I was just like, wait, what? Like it was just like the weirdest thing I've ever like actually I've never dealt with anybody saying something like that. But this was at the very beginning type thing when I was probably like 20. And then it was like obviously in those last 5 minutes I didn't have anything in my bag to do something cool enough to impress this guy. So it was kind of just like that. But that shit's never left my mind. It's like still has like been like a feeding thing where it's just like I'm just gonna do everything I can to be way better than you, I guess, in a way, like a weird competition, but like not really. It's like nothing against that guy. I'm so glad he said that because like it pushed me so much to actually like try a lot harder. But like, yeah, it's like little things like that will definitely like fuel somebody for a while because that was probably 10, 11 years ago. And I still remember it vividly perfect. Like,
I love it. I love it. So like, yeah, looking back, if you could give, yourself advice in those times, what do you think you might say to yourself?
oh man. I don't know. That's a really hard one because like yeah, it's like even though like not fully at where I'm at, but I'm really happy with where I'm at. So I don't know if I want to change anything because like I feel like the path that me and all my friends are on is like a really good one where it's like it's not like we got this quick blow up and like we're already like direct support for somebody at Red Rocks or whatever. Like, we didn't have this quick blow up that we weren't ready to catch up to yet. I
Mm.
feel like all the steps that we're getting is like a slow, gradual step that we're also improving with at the same time. So we're like ready for those steps where it's like it'll be a lot of people that get this crazy huge opportunity when like they're not fully ready for it. And then it's like all the stuff that comes right after it. And then you're just like get into this thing and then you end up like crashing. So honestly, I don't know if I would change anything. I'd probably just say like stick to doing it. Like don't remember that fucking guy saying that shit.
Pheel, my man, dude, this has been so good. Thanks for joining me here. Everyone out there listening, links in the description. Check them out on SoundCloud, website, tour dates, all that good stuff. Couple questions for you as we're wrapping up here. When you think about, your life pre DJ, those moments where people, your family and a random dude with his arms crossed, doubting you, you think about everything that, has gotten you to this point. If there's like one, what would you say is the most important takeaway that, others might be able to learn from your story?
Hmm. basically it's like if you know you want to do something, like it's not just gonna fall into your lap. Like, you gotta actually like work for it. And also big thing is like, you can work really hard on stuff, but you also need to be supportive to other people because that's how you create friends and that's how you create connections and stuff like that. Like going out and supporting people. Like if it's somebody that you don't really know, but like you like their music, go out and fucking check out their shows, like support their music, like all that type of stuff. Cause that's the type of stuff where like eventually like could turn into your friend and like, then you can end up like doing something really cool together that like you wouldn't have even thought would be a thing. So work hard, support other people, and keep grinding, I guess.
I love it. I love it. And one more of those deep, goofy questions for you. What do you think teenage you would say to you now?
Oh man. You're not snowboarding anymore? Probably that. Like, like moving out to Denver, I thought like I'd be like, oh, six, like music stuff and snowboarding all the time. And now it's like I move out here, I'm like, I'll go up maybe like twice a year now. It's like that's what I grew up like that's all I wanted to do is just snowboard because growing up like 15 minutes from this mountain. And yeah, now I barely do it. And so probably past me would be pretty upset about that, I would think.
Well, hell yeah. That's it. That's all my questions. Any final words or any message for any of your fans out there listening this far?
Have fun. Be nice and have fun.
I love it.
Yeah.
All right, my man. Cheers.
All right. Cheers, man.
I'm Katie Daly, producer of Flowers on the Stage. This episode is brought to you by New Belgium Brewing.
Música, música.